Good morning. Welcome to the Universalist Unitarian Church of Peoria. My name is Regina Stanley, and I have the pleasure of serving as the membership coordinator with this congregation. To give you some idea of what we're all about, let me tell you about our mission. We say that here we embrace freedom, love wholeheartedly, grow in mind, body, and spirit, and add to the healing of the world. What we mean is that we celebrate the good things whenever we can. We provide opportunities to strengthen relationships. We want to grow both as individuals and to welcome more people into this community. And we want to help you in your personal dream to make the world and your life better. We advocate for human rights and for the care of this one earth. We take to heart our connection with the world. This land is the ancestral home of the Peoria people. They were here long before the first European settlers came to this continent. We honor the Peoria people for who they were and for who they are today. I want to take a moment to extend a very warm welcome to everyone who is visiting us for the first time. It is no small effort to look around and venture into an established community. Thank you for finding us. See the ushers for name tags and information. Please stay for coffee after service if you're here in person, or for conversation and your own refreshments if you're online. Please take a moment and make sure your devices are set to worship mode, either buzzy or silent. And feel free to ask your neighbor for help if you need it. This weekend, we're participating in a pulpit swap with the Bloomington Normal UU Church. Our Reverend Jennifer Innes is there today as their pulpit guest, and we have the pleasure of welcoming their minister, Reverend Rebecca Gant. Reverend Rebecca Gant grew up in South Central Kansas and moved to Lawrence, Kansas to go to college. She married Joe in 1991, and they raised two fabulous, kind, and smart daughters. She began her journey to becoming a UU minister in 2017 after feeling the pull for more than a decade. She loves her calling to parish ministry, where she can help things like people, love, and justice grow. In her free time, she enjoys laughing with friends, hiking in the woods, making things from yarn or paper, and hosting impromptu patio parties. Let's give Reverend Rebecca a warm welcome. I have a few notes for this morning. Today, we have 10,000 Villages is here, and we have an opportunity for the kids during service to do a little Secret Santa shopping. And everyone is welcome after service to also shop. This is the second year the sale has been hosted by 10,000 Villages in Peoria Heights. This is a great way to pick up some last-minute fair trade gifts for your holiday giving. Kids will also have the opportunity to wrap the gifts after they make their purchases, so they can be holiday surprises. If you wish for your child to participate, please see Jessie Laughlin to complete the shopping list with budget, payment, and permission. Those not participating in the sale will be able to craft a small gift and participate in holiday-themed activities. Later this afternoon, we want you to get out your ugliest Christmas sweater and meet us in the foyer here at church at 3 o'clock to go Christmas caroling. We will carpool to 3 retirement homes, Bueller, Lutheran Hillside, and Independence Village to spread some holiday cheer. We'll have funny hats and music books for all, courtesy of Dave and Sherry Weisner. No musical experience? That's okay. Everyone is welcome to join in the fun. Bring your babies, your kids, your neighbors, your friends. Bring everybody. You can see Kathy McNeil or Bernie Humphrey if you have any questions. And then next Saturday, our pagan group, the Keepers of the Great Grove, invite you to join in our observance of Yule. It will be here at the church in Fellowship Hall. Doors will open at 5:30, and the ritual will begin at 6 o'clock. And includes a time for bardic tales, rituals, and a small fire, weather permitting. Bring a dish to pass and stay for the potluck after. Now, let's turn to our opening hymn, number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
We gather in part because we know no other way to celebrate, no other way to mourn, no other way to be human. We gather to understand ourselves more deeply. By understanding who we are in relationship, we are none of us an island. We gather to see and hear and remember things of beauty, to nurture in ourselves a sense of awe at the world and all creation. We gather to practice being our best selves, learning each day a deeper compassion and a greater love. We gather to tell true stories, ones both of fact and those of fiction, even the hard stories, so that we know we can do hard things. We gather to mourn the losses in our lives and come to face the challenges with grace and to celebrate with joy. We gather to be nourished together by song, by word, by food, and by fellowship, body, heart, and mind. We gather because it is what we are called to do, being social creatures. We humans know it is in gathering that we are known and that we come to know. It is in gathering that we are held and that we are beholden. It is in gathering that we experience love, the giving and receiving that sustains us for all our days. Welcome to this home. Welcome to this moment. Welcome to this gathering. Come and let us worship together. I want to invite Tony Huerta to come and light the chalice.
May this light guide us, by Jacaren Olaoya. We light this chalice. Here in the darkness of winter we wait. This temporary space is one filled with prayers to be answered, love to be given and received, miracles to be witnessed. May this light guide us until the light of the sun returns again.
By Angela Herrera. Don't leave your broken heart at the door. Bring it to the altar of life. Don't leave your anger behind. It has high standards, and the world needs vision. Bring them with you, and your joy and your passion. Bring your loving and your courage and your conviction. Bring your need for healing and your power to heal. There is work to do, and you have all that you need to do it right here in this room. We set aside this moment for reflection, for centering ourselves in this moment, this community, for all the reasons that bring us together. All are welcome to come forward and light a candle. For those who are online, let these candles be for you. Let us enter into our music for meditation. This is the time for sharing of joys and sorrows in the congregation. We mourn the loss of Paul Kaiser, who passed away on Monday, December 9th, after a long illness. We extend our sympathies and love to his family. A celebration of life was held yesterday. Thank you to all who helped. Also, a joy, we celebrate the joy of a new baby. Elizabeth Ann Hayes was born on December 10th. The happy parents are Mia and Evan Hayes, and the delighted grandparents, Nancy Sherman and Pat Hayes. Welcome to the world, Ellie. Let us share one more moment of quiet together. Let us pause and breathe. Shalom, salam, namaste, blessed be. And now I'd like to invite Jesse Laughlin up for our story today.
Before the story, I'd like to plug one more time the holiday shopping that'll be going on for kiddos. If you would like to have your child participate, make sure I have a permission slip. You can come on back with them and fill this out after the story. That's important. So today, we have a visitor in our sanctuary, Reverend Rebecca, who's already come up, and we've gotten to see a little bit of her, is going to talk later about a revolutionary woman. One of our little UUs played that revolutionary woman last week. It's Mary, Jesus' mom. Well, revolutionary. I wonder, what does that word mean to us? I think it means that it's someone who has an idea and decides to act on it. That idea is brand new. That idea maybe hasn't been talked about before and changes the world as we know it. Well, it makes perfect sense for us to talk about a revolutionary woman in our service today because our faith, our Unitarian Universalist faith, is full of revolutionary women. From Mary Moody Emerson, who sat with her young nephew, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and taught him to think big ideas, to Margaret Fuller, who brought revolutionary ideas of what a woman could do and how to think about them to the transcendentalists of New England. Lydia Marie Child was a society woman in New York who brought the revolutionary idea of abolition to her friends. Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, whom we've talked about before, she worked to bend the arc of justice just a little bit more. She was born a free Black woman before the Civil War and continued to fight for the rights of all to be seen as inherently worthy. Susan B. Anthony and Olympia Brown were Unitarian Universalists who fought their whole lives long for suffrage or the right for women to vote. That was revolutionary in their time. And Fanny Barrier Williams worked alongside of them to ensure that that right was extended to Black women as well. Mary Jordan believed in the revolutionary nature of love. As a matter of fact, when she heard the minister Quillen Shin preach it, she said, "That is what I am," just like we say today. And let's not forget our very own Lydia Bradley. She was certainly a revolutionary woman, conducting her business, running a bank at a time where a woman could not have a checking account, founding a college and being such a force right here in Peoria. This list of revolutionary Unitarian and Universalist women goes on and on through our history. Our tradition is stacked with revolutionaries. I wonder which of those revolutions are the most important to you? And I wonder which revolutions are yet to come? And which revolutions will we help bring about? I invite the kids, their volunteers, and anybody who has to fill this out to join me back in religious education.
From Reverend Victoria Weinstein. We say in our church that the offering is a sacrament of the free church. What we mean by that is that we believe it is a blessing to be able to govern and support our religious community ourselves, to make possible by our generosity everything we dream of and do to live out our shared values. Every week, we lift up the spiritual value of generosity by taking an offering for the ministries of this church. Our plate, then, as it is passed among us, becomes filled with the evidence of that generosity. It is our harvest, gathered in every week for what most nourishes us. We also share our abundance with our local community. Each week, we set aside half of the undesignated funds for our Share the Plate recipient. Our Share the Plate recipient this month is Central Illinois Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired, or otherwise known as CIC-BVI. CIC-BVI has provided support and encouragement to the blind and visually impaired since 1955. The staff teaches Braille, helps set up households, trains and provides assistive technology, and offers many other services, including social events and outings. CIC-BVI receives no government funding and is a 501c3 charity. One half of December's undesignated plate offerings will go to CIC-BVI. And now I'd like to invite the ushers forward for the offering. And now I'd like to invite Jean Jost up for our first reading.
This reading is from Luke 1:46 to 55. It follows upon Jesse's comment that Mary is the first revolutionary woman. And Mary said, "My soul glorifies the Lord. My spirit rejoices in God, my Savior, for he has been mindful of the humble state of his servant. From now on, all generations will call me blessed, for the Mighty One has done great things for me, and holy is his name. His mercy extends to those who fear him from generation to generation. He has performed mighty deeds with his arm. He has scattered those who are proud in their inmost thoughts. He has brought down rulers from their thrones, but has lifted up the humble. He has filled the hungry with good things, but has sent the rich away empty. He has helped his servant Israel, remembering to be merciful to Abraham and his descendants forever, just as he promised our ancestors. And we're to remember we too are his ancestors."
And now I'd like to invite Holly Green up for our second reading.
Magnificat by Lynn Unger. My soul doth magnify the Lord, said Mary, under circumstances which make it something of a startling utterance. Not, I accept the will of the Lord, not, I bow before the Lord, not even, I give thanks to the Lord. No, Mary, this young woman, presumably unfamiliar with angels or divine voices of any kind, let alone those pronouncing that salvation would grow inside her ordinary flesh. This woman, who may be innocent but hardly seems naive, says something remarkable. My soul magnifies the Lord. Who I am, what I do, how I choose, makes God bigger. As if God were to slip between microscope slides and appear in never-before-seen detail, which is, of course, exactly what happens. Somehow, in being magnified, God gets small, small enough to sleep amongst the straw and the scent of farm animals. God magnified becomes particular, tangible, urgent as a hungry child. And Mary, like so many women before her and after, puts the baby to her breast, where they both grow vast in each other's eyes.
How's that? Is that better? Okay. I was told the mic wasn't quite loud enough earlier, so I wanted to make sure. All right. Still not? Shall we use this one? Okay, how's that? That better? Okay. Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure. I grew up in a small town in a small Methodist church. In third grade, I learned how to be an acolyte, which meant I could light candles and I got to wear a special robe. In sixth grade, I went through confirmation class and got a Bible with my name embossed on it. In the summers, I went to vacation Bible school, and throughout the year, there was Sunday school and cherub choir. And some of this was fun and some was not, but none of it was exciting as the weeks leading up to Christmas. The anticipation of who would be chosen for the most coveted role of Mary in the pageant was almost too much to take. The glamour of her beautiful blue head covering, her satin gown, the acting chops required to appear calm and demure, and the thrill of being in that dark sanctuary at night. It was all enough to make someone like me swoon. One year, I was the lucky one who got chosen to be Mary. And although the lead up to the pageant was very heady, actually portraying Mary was not as fabulous as I had hoped. I remember how hot it was, probably a combination of that satin gown and the close proximity of jostling wise men and shepherds in their bathrobes, and maybe because I had a little crush on Joseph. I was also very uncomfortable about the virgin thing because I had some vague idea of what that meant, but not exactly what, and it seemed like we shouldn't be talking about it at church. Also, adding to my discomfort that year, we used an actual baby. I was worried the baby would cry and I would not be able to soothe him, or worse, that I would drop our blessed Savior on the floor of the stable. None of my worries came true, and aside from Jesus needing a diaper change by the end, it went pretty well. I was proud that I had portrayed Mary seriously and accurately as the type of woman that I had been taught that she was. This Mary I had been taught was passive and humble. It's the Mary that's highlighted in much of Christianity and in the wider culture. It's a story, and it's a story like all stories that has power. And because this story has repercussions in our society today for how women and girls are treated, I believe it is important to examine it. So here's a little context. In Mary's time, just as in ours, there were oppressors and the oppressed. There was poverty and discrimination and violence, and the powers that be seemed to have very little regard for everyday people. Mary, as a poor person, as a young woman, and as a Jew in the time when the Romans were in power, had probably experienced her fair share of oppressions. But Mary's story has a little more to it than the story of a young woman who humbly just accepts whatever is going to happen to her and quietly watches while the action happens around her. That Mary is part of the story, but only one small part. In the book of Luke, prior to what you heard this morning, the angel Gabriel has visited Mary. He began by praising her, saying, "Greetings, you who are highly favored. The Lord is with you." Now, I don't know if you know about biblical angels, but they were frightening. They were a lot of eyes and wings and did not look like the ones we see in picture books. The text does not tell us if Mary is startled by the sudden appearance of this angel, although who could blame her? But she does not hide or bow or cower. The text says that she is not frightened, but she is troubled and confused by the angel's words. She wonders, why would an angel come to her? She's a poor, young Jewish woman. Why would God choose her? So Gabriel lays it out that she will become pregnant and have a baby, and that this baby will be the Son of God. Mary asks, well, how would this be? I am unmarried. And Gabriel explains and tells her also about her kinswoman Elizabeth, who has become pregnant in her old age. He repeats that Mary's child will be holy, will be the Son of God. Mary then consents to this audacious plan, saying that she is willing and that she is in God's service. Three things are asserted by our culture based on this text and others. First, that Mary was a very young girl, that she was a virgin, and that she was passive. Volumes have been written speculating about Mary's age and wondering about whether or not she ever had sex. Some point to the fact that the Greek word often translated into virgin can mean a woman who has not borne a child. Others assert that the word should be more properly translated as maiden, just meaning a younger woman. Some scholars theorize that the writers of Luke and Matthew were hoping to convert pagans to this new religion by using the idea of a virgin birth, since that idea existed in the paganism of the time. We are not going to solve those puzzles here today. Scholars have been arguing about them for centuries. But I do want to explore the third idea of whether or not Mary had agency in this story, whether she had thoughts of her own and her own agenda, perhaps. The book of Luke says that soon after the visit from this angel, Mary travels alone from Galilee to Judah to visit Elizabeth. The text doesn't tell us exactly why Mary goes, but you can imagine that she wants to speak with Elizabeth to see whether Elizabeth is truly pregnant, as the angel had told her, and maybe to wonder together about these two unexpected pregnancies. The text says that when Mary walks into Elizabeth's house, Elizabeth's baby leaps in her womb. Elizabeth says, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the child you will bear. Blessed is she who has believed what the Lord has told her." And Mary replies with the words that you also heard earlier. It's a song commonly called the Magnificat. It begins, "My soul magnifies the Lord." And with these words, Mary boldly proclaims herself as an active participant in the power of God. This is an audacious statement from a young, poor Jewish woman. She says that through her, God's glory is magnified. She marvels that he has chosen her, a woman of low status, to fulfill his plan. After expressing this joy and amazement, Mary continues declaring that the proud have been scattered, the powerful have been cast down, and the lowly lifted up. The hungry have been fed, and the rich have been sent away empty. I must digress and say that this use of past tense is a little confusing to our ears, because it's apparent in Mary's time that these things have not happened. A Franciscan monk, John Barker, writes, "According to some scholars, the original Greek uses the past tense here to indicate a habitual action, so that Mary is describing a God who routinely upsets the rich and the powerful, and routinely raises up the lowly." Other scholars argue that the past tense here means that what it often does when used by biblical prophets to indicate a future event that has been firmly declared by God, and in that sense is as good as done. Either way, it's a bold statement. In Mary's time, as in ours, the people who had power had been gathering more power by courting the rich and ignoring the poor. Misogyny and patriarchy were alive and well, and then, as well as now, there were people who were working to bring about justice. This Mary who proclaims a vision of a just society is far from naive, far from demure. She is gutsy. And the deep thought and political savvy she demonstrates with this speech, the Magnificat, for me, call into question who she is as an extremely young woman. She's a young woman visiting the home of a man who has some power, and she's laying out a vision of a world in which he will lose that power and in which people like her will no longer be oppressed. This Mary reminds me of some young prophets of our time. Maybe you can think of them too. Malala Yousafzai, David Hogg, Emma Gonzalez, Greta Thunberg. These young people have, at great personal risk, been courageous enough to speak their truth to power. This Mary that we've been talking about is the one that is held up as a role model for liberation theologians, such as Oscar Romero of El Salvador, who was assassinated for his views on liberation of the poor. This is the Mary who inspires people living on the margins of society. She speaks from a position of strength, of faith in a just world yet to come. I grew up on images of Mary who was unthreatening and almost childlike. and certainly submissive. But I wish I had been taught instead about this other Mary. And here's an image of her. This is a woodcut from a contemporary artist named Ben Wildflower. The words around the edge, in case they're small, are cast down the mighty, fill up the hungry, lift the lowly, send the rich away. Mary's holding her fist in the air and is standing on a snake. The artist writes that he grew up reading the Bible as an evangelical kid and had never heard of a Mary with any power. As an adult, he heard the Magnificat for the first time as part of the evening prayers at an Anglican church, and he was hooked. This is the Mary that so frightens authoritarian governments that the later verses of the Magnificat have at various times in history been banned from reading aloud in the liturgy in India, Guatemala, Argentina. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, German pastor and theologian who was executed by the Nazis, called the Magnificat the most passionate, the wildest, one might even say the most revolutionary hymn ever sung. Her words, cast down the mighty, fill the hungry, lift the lowly, and send the rich away, are a challenging mantra for our times. For our times when the uber wealthy are buying governmental influence, it remains to be seen exactly how we can be a part of making a world where all people are treated equitably in these new times. How can we make it certain that the mighty will share their power with the lowly? That the hungry and the rich will both have what they need and no more? It will require a change in perspective, a movement away from the zero-sum game of late-stage capitalism. I am sure, though, that we UUs will be a part of this. We'll be a part of that change because we will organize and we will activate ourselves to live into our values of interdependence and generosity and equity and love. It is my hope that we may be more like this revolutionary Mary, fist in the air, standing on a snake, joyful, courageous, resolute, and certain that justice will come. Amen.
Okay, please rise in body and spirit for closing hymn number 241, In the Bleak Midwinter. Keep the Chalice Flame Burning by Adam Slate. Be kind. Be brave. Be just. Be merciful. Be hopeful. This is how we keep the chalice flame burning until we are together again to light it anew.
May you go from here knowing that you are whole and holy and worthy of love and belonging. May you go from here with that revolutionary flame in your heart into our hurting and beautiful world. Amen.